Very recently, I concluded my senior fellowship, which was in the area of evaluating the impact of terror on Kashmiri Pandit uh, social and economic ecosystem. It was an international survey and research-based activity that was undertaken. I would be very surprised if we, as a community, survive for more than 3 decades. We might survive because the names will linger on. We may be known by our surnames. There are multiple factors which are at it, which are contributing to the acceleration of extinction of being a Kashmiri Pandit. And I give it 3 decades also because most of, for example, our elders, my parents, that generation, that is still very fluent with the essence of being a Kashmiri Pandit are still around. But as is the bitter fact of life, who anybody who comes will eventually depart. And with him will be an entire repertory of the entire knowledge bank of what being a Kashmiri Pandit was. That youngsters, as Dr. Bamzai aptly put it, we of course showed a lot of resilience in moving away from the issues. But unfortunately, we have moved on from being the essence of being a Kashmiri Pandit. That is very worrisome. But largely today's youth has no concept of being a Kashmiri Pandit. And what is being a Kashmiri Pandit? It is about the rituals that make us who we are. Knowing about Shaivism of Kashmir is a different game altogether. Today's youth is not even familiar with what the basics of being a Kashmiri Pandit are all about. The language has taken a toll. Today, no longer is the youth proud of speaking in Kashmiri. The youth is no longer proud of the ritualism. The lowest common denominator that I feel why is it happening is because there is lack of respect and there is lack of appreciation for being a Kashmiri Pandit. When you evaluate various micro communities, whether it is Bengalis, whether it is Malayalis, whether it is Sindhis, you see tremendous pride in they display their community on their sleeve. They're very forthcoming in helping their own community members and unapologetically. They take great pride in their cultural habits. They take great pride in their rituals. Now the difference is why does it happen? It happens because most of what they stand for is well preserved and well documented. Another fact that Dr. Bamzai also mentioned is that we as a community, we have had a very tumultuous history of about 500, 600 odd years, and it goes back to another 200 odd years overall, 700 years of turmoil that this community has faced. And therefore, preservation of culture, documentation of what we stand for, perhaps was not a priority that time, even after 1990. Does anybody stop today a Kashmiri Pandit from taking pride in being, because we mostly live in areas where nobody is persecuting us? Today, I think we have the last opportunity of getting into preservation. That is one part of it, and then is the most important part, which is the development. So the larger part here is that what is the sense of being a Kashmiri Pandit needs to be taken to the younger generation, and therefore lies the big missing part. Why is it that a Malayali is very proud of his culture? Why is a Bangla very proud of his culture? Because he has those references which are absent for a Kashmiri Pandit. And that is where the missing link. So today's youth doesn't know why should I be proud of being a Kashmiri Pandit. Today, being a Kashmiri Pandit mostly may remind people of the exodus. It reminds of the misfortune. And therefore, I think our youth, largely when they're moving on from or moving away from being a Kashmiri Pandit, is because it reminds them of nothing but misery. It doesn't remind them of the contribution of Kashmiri Pandits in economy. It doesn't remind people of their contribution in areas like combat, in education, in knowledge, in taxation, in trading, in legalities, in diplomacy, in field research when I was doing my project Tridesh, which eventually became the first ever research project that was approved by the government of India that brings back and gives authenticity and uh, brings to life 13 women from Kashmir who were lost in time, who people did not know. And, unfortunately and unapologetically, I think while we are a very culturally and very well educated people, the kind of ignorance that we have about our own history is appalling. And I say this with demonstrated experience, barring our elders who are beacons of knowledge, who are beacons of excellence. These are islands of excellence. But these islands of excellence, we have to recognize biologically, these islands of excellence are with people sooner or later, like my parents, everybody else's elders will move on. What will happen then? I have almost about 20, 30 universities where I was invited to discuss about Sri Desh and the women and their contribution. There has been nothing but standing ovation that people say that, wow, we only knew of Kashmir because of terror. We do not know the contribution of Kashmiri women, even in the areas of warfare. When I requested the legendary Mr. Amitabh Bachchan to release one of my books, which is the first biography on the life of Queen Dida, he was amazed. He said, this is unbelievable. Unfortunately, Kashmir gets known only for Lal Ded and so many other parts which are popular. But people who really made the cornerstones of the world, and the fact is that even Kashmiris don't know that today the world runs on certain economic, certain social parameters. All of them were contributions of Kashmiri Pandits and specifically the women of Kashmir to the world. So the world works today on the very fundamentals that were creations, that were gifts to the modern world by the Kashmiri women. How many of us even know? So the point is sometimes the bitter pill is that we have to accept that we ourselves don't know. And whatever has been fed to us, unfortunately, is doctored. Our own history today, our own culturalism is in a way, it has been influenced by Islam in so many ways and supported by the governments of the time. Unfortunately, it has had an impact on the kind of learning, the kind of ecosystem that we and maybe a generation before me or the generation after me has also gained. So there is a lot of work at hand, and I believe Kaul Saab has an opportunity of it's a Herculean effort because to build that pride is necessary. When you build that pride, people get drawn to it. Why do we get drawn to Americas of the world and developed nations of the world? They don't come to us; we go to them. Likewise, the sense of pride. I hope we are able to do it before it is lost forever. So I think that sense of pride in the youth, they have to know that there is something to be proud about. I know youngsters who don't even like to, even in Jammu, the sad part is a very large part of my own family, my nephews, the youngsters, they speak Dogri so fluently. They take great pride in speaking in Dogri, not Kashmiri anymore. Something fundamentally is wrong. And what is wrong is the lack of knowledge, is the lack of respect for your own identity and the knowledge that why should you be proud of? Today's youth thinks that, Kashmiris they are living in their own world that, oh, people should be proud of us. But there is nothing, as Bamzai Saab very rightly mentioned, that, uh, proof oriented or there has to be some structure to it that is absent today. I just hope we are able to put that before time runs out. Thank you very much.